Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really fascinating stack of technical combat loadout sheets.
Yeah, and we're focusing on the core performance metrics, things like damage, fire rate, and mobility across a whole range of different weapons.
Exactly. The raw data tells such a clear story, It shows you how players, or maybe the designers, are forced to prioritize either pure statistical power or just sheer speed.
It's really a study in tactical trade-offs. What we have here is the perfect illustration of that constant balancing act.
So our mission is pretty simple. Unpack which weapons are built to be absolute powerhouses and which ones are just pure agile tools for getting around the map.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start at the top. The apex of damage output. The absolute outlier here, of course, is the axe.
Of course.
It clocks in with an insane 200 damage. But as you'd expect, it's held back by its tiny 15 range and a really slow 27 fire rate.
It's the definition of a high-risk, high-reward gamble.
Yeah.
You have to get close.
Totally. So if we move to conventional firearms with that same high-impact philosophy, two rifles really stand out, the Type 63 and the SKS.
Right, the semi-autos. The Type 63 has a massive 63 damage and, get this, the highest accuracy in the entire set at 87.
87. And the SKS is right behind it with 60 damage.
But here's the kicker. The trade-off is just so obvious. Mobility. You cannot have that kind of power and still move fast.
Not at all. The Type 63 has a mobility score of 57, and the SKS is even lower at 53.
So these weapons demand patience. You have to be positioned. You have to prioritize those long-range shots over, sprinting around corners.
And that sacrifice is the perfect pivot point to the other end of the spectrum.
The speed demons.
Yes. This is where it gets really interesting. If you look at the Fennec, a submachine gun built entirely for agility.
Oh, yeah?
We see mobility scores noted as high as 111, sometimes even a 119, with a crazy high fire rate to match.
But to get that speed, you have to accept that the damage output is just tiny, 23. It's less a weapon of brute force and more a delivery system.
That's a great way to put it. And the cost isn't just low damage, it's also...
Control. It's the lack of control. The Fennec has the lowest control score in the entire set. A meager 20.
20. And the PPS-41 is right there with it, another high mobility gun, 94 mobility, 82 fire rate, but its control is still way down at 31.
And that's the hallmark of these speed demons. You sacrifice all that stability and power just to make sure you can get to the objective first.
Okay, let's shift to some of the anomalies and what players are actually doing with their customizations. The CR56 AMAX has a really strange build here.
It's so weird. An unusually low mobility score of 7 and a fire rate of only 4.
What even is that? It doesn't look like a normal rifle build. It seems like it's for a very specific, maybe a mounted static position.
Almost like an area denial tool.
Yeah.
And I think what's often overlooked are the weapons that just sit right in the middle. The reliable ones.
The generalists, like the RPD, the LMG, or the EM2. They have balanced mid-range stats. The RPD is at 31 damage, 65 fire rate. Perfectly serviceable.
Exactly. And that's where you find your all-rounders, like the AK-117 too. A modest 25 damage, but a solid 64 accuracy.
Now, if we look at how players are customizing these, the uniformity is just... it's remarkable.
It is. So many of these heavy weapons, from rifles to LMGs, they're all using the no-stock attachment.
Right. Which is a clear attempt to fight against that low mobility. They're trying to claw back some of that speed demon agility for their heavy hitters.
And you also see a common theme for engagement range. The 3X Tactical Scope 2 is on almost all the rifles and LMGs.
On the Type 63, the SKS, the RPD, the EM2, it's everywhere.
It confirms the strategy, right? If you're sacrificing speed, you absolutely have to own those mid to long range sightlines. And finally, the FMJ perk.
Full metal jacket, so you can shoot through walls.
It just shows a commitment to maximizing your engagement opportunities, even through cover.
So what's the big takeaway here? The data reveals this really clear choice you have to make. You're either going for maximum power or maximum maneuverability.
And customization is really just an attempt to nudge one of those extremes a little closer to the middle. The very few builds can actually do both well.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, considering these huge statistical gaps, the 200 damage axe versus the 119 mobility Fennec, does this data prove that specialized loadouts are just better than being a generalist? Why would a player consistently choose a balanced weapon like the AK-117 with its 25 damage over the sheer power and accuracy of something like the Type 63?
That choice says so much more about tactical preference than it does about the raw numbers on a sheet.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really fascinating stack of combat loadout sheets.
Yeah, this is pure performance metrics.
We've got everything here: damage, fire rate, mobility. And these aren't just numbers, right? They tell a story.
They do.
So our mission is to unpack that story. Which weapons are the absolute powerhouses and which ones are just built for pure speed?
And what stands out immediately, is that this is all a study in trade-offs.
A balancing act.
Exactly. It's a zero-sum game. Every point you put into power, you're pretty much taking from speed.
Yeah.
We need to figure out where users are drawing that line.
Okay, let's start at the top then, with the weapons built for maximum impact. And we have to begin with the total outlier.
The axe.
The axe. I mean, 200 damage. That's just explosive power.
It is, but it's so constrained. That's the catch.
Right, it's melee. Range is only 15, and the fire rate is super low at 27. It's the definition of high risk.
So if we move past melee and look at, conventional firearms built for raw stopping power.
Yeah, what are we seeing there?
That's where you see the Type 63 and the SKS. They are the apex of accuracy in this whole set.
The Type 63 has what, 87 accuracy?
87, the highest we recorded, plus 63 damage. And the SKS is right behind it.
So if they're that accurate, that powerful,
Mm-hmm.
What's the sacrifice? What's the trade-off?
It's speed. It always comes back to speed. The Type 63 is sitting at a really low 57 mobility.
And the SKS is even lower.
Even lower, yeah,
Right.
down to 53. So if you want that kind of damage and accuracy, you are giving up the ability to move around the map.
Which brings us perfectly to the other end of the spectrum.
The speed demons.
The builds that prioritize agility over everything else. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the Fennec.
Oh, the Fennec, yeah.
This thing isn't a damage tool. It's a tool for, map manipulation.
Mm.
Mobility scores as high as 111, even 119.
And that extreme mobility is the key context, because to get that speed, its damage just drops to, 23?
Barely anything.
And crucially, it has the absolute lowest control score in the entire set, just 20.
So it's sacrificing all stability and power just to move you faster.
Completely. And the PPS 41 is right there with it. High mobility at 94, high fire rate, but again, that control is down at 31. These are builds where agility is your main weapon.
Okay, so shifting focus a little, the data has a few oddities and some really uniform trends in how people customize.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the anomalies. The CR56 AMAX lists a mobility score of 7 and a fire rate of 4. What even is that?
That suggests a build that is extremely specialized, almost static.
So not for running around.
Not at all. It's likely for holding down a specific area where those stats just don't matter as much.
And then you have your mid-range weapons, the
Yeah.
RPD, the EM2. They're more balanced.
The averages, yeah. But what's interesting is how players try to fight a gun's basic identity through customization.
What do you mean by that?
We see multiple high-damage rifles using the no-stock attachment.
Right, to get a boost in mobility.
Exactly. They're trying to inject speed into these heavy platforms. And at the same time, you see these recurring optics, like the 3X Tactical Scope 2, on almost every rifle and LMG.
And that FMJ perk, Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Which shows that some things, like shooting through cover, are just universally valued. Doesn't matter if you're fast or slow.
So when you boil it all down, what's this mean for the user?
I think the data shows a really clear choice. The most effective builds seem to be highly specialized.
So you either commit fully to power and range,
Or you commit to maximum speed and maneuverability. Very few builds seem to succeed in the middle.
and that raises a big question for you, the listener.
It does. When you see these extreme differences, the 200 damage axe versus the 119 mobility Fennec, does that mean hyper-specialization is always better?
Yeah, why would a user pick that balanced AK-117 build? It's just okay at everything.
Right. Why choose the middle ground when the spreadsheet so clearly rewards going to one extreme or the other? Maybe the best choice isn't always the biggest number.
Welcome to the deep dive. So today, we're going to forget the cosmetics, forget all the cool skins for a minute.
Yeah, we're going straight to the numbers.
Exactly. We got this whole stack of loadout specs,
Yeah.
and we are just tearing into the raw mechanical heart of competitive performance.
That's the mission, right? We're taking this hard data to figure out the design philosophy. I mean, you can't max out everything.
No, you can't.
So what are players and designers aggressively maximizing? And what's the crippling penalty they accept for it?
That trade-off is where it gets interesting. Okay, so let's start at the absolute top. Sheer damage.
The biggest number on the board.
One item just completely stands out for pure stopping power. The axe. 200 damage.
It's an absurd number, but what's fascinating is the cost of that power.
The range. It's got to be the range.
It's the shortest in our entire data stack. It's 15. It's basically a hug of death.
So you have to be absolutely committed to getting right up close.
Totally.
Okay, so let's contrast that zero-range monster with something built for distance.
The marksman rifle?
Yeah, like the Type 63. The damage is still solid, 63.
Yeah.
But the accuracy is just way up there at 87.
And they get that through, those specialized long barrels, precision scopes.
Right, the 21.5 match-grade barrel. You're sacrificing all your mobility for that one perfect shot.
Exactly. And you even see that kind of specialization within the assault rifles. Take the CR-56 AMX.
It hits like a truck. 43 damage using those M67 rounds.
But look at its fire rate. It's a 4.
It's shockingly slow.
It turns an assault rifle into a sledgehammer, not a spray tool.
Yeah.
You have to be so methodical with it.
That is the perfect transition, because if the AMX is a methodical sledgehammer, let's talk about pure chaos.
The complete opposite.
We have to switch gears to speed. The ultimate glass cannon in our data. It has to be the Fennec.
Oh, absolutely. It just screams past everything else. The mobility is 119 and the fire rate is 111.
Highest on the board for both.
And this is a deliberate design choice.
Yeah.
Because the cost for that blistering pace is immediate. It's got to be the control.
The lowest control rating, 20, and the lowest accuracy at 31.
Wow.
It's equipped for pure velocity. You see it running akimbo 2 weapons and a fast reload. You're basically sacrificing all stability for just an overwhelming volume of fire.
Yeah, at extremely close range. It makes even other fast SMGs look, well, kind of tame.
For sure. You look at the TPS-41, which is a very capable gun.
Right.
Its mobility and fire rate are high, but its setups focus more on, fast reloads and a sturdy grip. It's trying for some consistency.
Not the absolute mayhem of the Fennec.
Exactly. But, not everyone is chasing these extremes. We have to talk about the reliable workhorses.
The ones that aim for stability.
Right. Take the RPD, the LMG. You see it with attachments like the cooling compressor barrel designed for sustained fire.
And its stats are just stable. They're right across the middle. Range is 64, accuracy is 59, mobility is 50.
It's not exceptional at anything, but it's not bad at anything either.
And that same pattern holds for a lot of the mainline assault rifles too, like the EM2.
Yeah, that's a great example. It keeps its damage and fire rate in a healthy balance.
And the accuracy and mobility are kept in that reliable mid-range, usually with a heavy task force barrel. It's just built to perform pretty well no matter what.
So if we connect all these dots, the big picture here is that success in loadout design is, well, it's defined by aggression.
It's not about finding gear that's good at everything.
No, not at all. It's about aggressively pushing 1, maybe 2 stats mobility like the Fennec or damage like the Axe, and just accepting that you will suffer a crippling penalty somewhere else.
And mastery is just knowing how to leverage that one extreme advantage you've built.
That's it.
So that's the key takeaway then. Given these trade-offs, this essential yin and yang of gear design, if you were forced to build your next loadout by maxing out just one single performance category, accuracy, mobility, or control, which one would you pick and why? Something to chew on. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really fascinating stack of combat loadout sheets.
Yeah, this is pure performance metrics.
We've got everything here: damage, fire rate, mobility. And these aren't just numbers, right? They tell a story.
They do.
So our mission is to unpack that story. Which weapons are the absolute powerhouses and which ones are just built for pure speed?
And what stands out immediately, is that this is all a study in trade-offs.
A balancing act.
Exactly. It's a zero-sum game. Every point you put into power, you're pretty much taking from speed.
Yeah.
We need to figure out where users are drawing that line.
Okay, let's start at the top then, with the weapons built for maximum impact. And we have to begin with the total outlier.
The Axe.
The Axe. 200 damage. That's just explosive power.
It is, but it's so constrained. That's the catch.
Right, it's melee. Range is only 15, and the fire rate is super low at 27. It's the definition of high risk.
So if we move past melee and look at, conventional firearms built for raw stopping power.
Yeah, what are we seeing there?
That's where you see the Type 63 and the SKS. They are the apex of accuracy in this whole set.
The Type 63 has what, 87 accuracy?
87, the highest we recorded, plus 63 damage. And the SKS is right behind it.
So if they're that accurate, that powerful, What's the sacrifice? What's the trade-off?
It's speed. It always comes back to speed. The Type 63 is sitting at a really low 57 mobility.
And the SKS is even lower.
Even lower, yeah,
Right.
down to 53. So if you want that kind of damage and accuracy, you are giving up the ability to move around the map.
Which brings us perfectly to the other end of the spectrum.
The speed demons.
The builds that prioritize agility over everything else. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the Fennec.
Oh, the Fennec, yeah.
This thing isn't a damage tool. It's a tool for, like, map manipulation. Mobility scores as high as 111, even 119.
And that extreme mobility is the key context, because to get that speed, its damage just drops to, what, 23?
Barely anything.
And crucially, it has the absolute lowest control score in the entire set, just 20.
So it's sacrificing all stability and power just to move you faster.
Completely. And the PPS 41 is right there with it. High mobility at 94, high fire rate, but again, that control is down at 31. These are builds where agility is your main weapon.
Okay, so shifting focus a little, the data has a few oddities and some really uniform trends in how people customize. Let's start with the anomalies. The CR56 AMAX lists a mobility score of 7 and a fire rate of 4. What even is that?
That suggests a build that is extremely specialized, almost static.
So not for running around.
Not at all. It's likely for holding down a specific area where those stats just don't matter as much.
And then you have your mid-range weapons, the
Yeah.
RPD, the EM2. They're more balanced.
The averages, yeah. But what's interesting is how players try to fight a gun's basic identity through customization.
What do you mean by that?
We see multiple high-damage rifles using the no-stock attachment.
Right, to get a boost in mobility.
Exactly. They're trying to inject speed into these heavy platforms. And at the same time, you see these recurring optics, like the 3X Tactical Scope 2, on almost every rifle and LMG.
And that FMJ perk, full metal jacket.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Which shows that some things, like shooting through cover, are just universally valued. Doesn't matter if you're fast or slow.
So when you boil it all down, what's this mean for the user?
I think the data shows a really clear choice. The most effective builds seem to be highly specialized.
So you either commit fully to power and range,
Or you commit to maximum speed and maneuverability. Very few builds seem to succeed in the middle.
and that raises a big question for you, the listener.
It does. When you see these extreme differences, the 200 damage axe versus the 119 mobility Fennec, does that mean hyper-specialization is always better?
Yeah, why would a user pick that balanced AK-117 build? It's just okay at everything.
Right. Why choose the middle ground when the spreadsheet so clearly rewards going to one extreme or the other? Maybe the best choice isn't always the biggest number. Okay, so let's dive right in. We've got our hands on the full competitive loadouts for a player named Messiah Thompson. And the philosophy is really clear. It's all about aggression, maximum mobility, maximum visibility. Our mission here is to figure out if that pursuit of raw speed is actually, paying off, or if there's a statistical landmine just buried in all these attachments.
And that's what's so interesting. The philosophy itself is being totally undermined by the data. I mean, you look at the attachments and they offer speed, they offer that clarity, but the combination is where it all falls apart. You've got loadouts where the key parts are, well, they're actively canceling each other out.
Right. So if this whole combination is such a statistical mess, why are they using it? Are they just overvaluing raw movement speed?
It really seems that way. We're seeing this heavy reliance on the no-stock attachment. It's on 7 out of the 10 builds.
Which is the ultimate mobility piece. Faster aim down sight, faster strafing.
Exactly. But here's the trade-off, and it's a huge one. The data shows it just tanks your flinch resistance and your overall steadiness.
That sounds like a really heavy price to pay, especially in competitive, where you're almost always taking fire while you're shooting back.
It is. It's a massive price. That loss of flinch creates what the sources are calling the flinch vulnerability ripple effect. For any weapon that's built for mid or long range, losing that resistance means you're pretty much guaranteed to be thrown off target the second you get hit.
It's a death sentence in a duel.
A total death sentence. And then, to make it even worse, you have the constant use of the 3X Tactical Scope 2. It's on 6 different platforms.
Yeah.
The Type 63, the RPD.
And that scope comes with its own penalty, right?
It does. A mandatory, roughly 8% penalty to your ADS time. Your aim down sight speed just gets slower.
Wow.
And critically, unlike in some other games where a scope might give you some hidden stability, this one gives you nothing. 0 benefits to compensate. So this creates what they call the ADS speed inversion.
Yeah.
You're pairing no stock for a speed gain with a 3X scope that gives a speed penalty.
So they just cancel each other out.
They almost completely cancel out.
And you're left with all the instability from the no stock with almost none of the speed you chose it for.
So they accept this terrible flinch, this instability, for a speed boost that in the end isn't even there. You can really see that cost when you look at the marksman rifles, the SKS, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those guns depend on consistency. You need that quick two-tap kill. That instability from no stock almost guarantees you're going to miss that crucial second shot if you're under fire. It just blows the whole time to kill.
And that covers the precision side. What about the weapons that are built for, just laying down fire, like the RPD?
That's where the waste is just so obvious. The RPD is using the cooling compressor barrel, the CCB. That thing gives you effectively infinite ammunition. It's a massive advantage for suppression, for holding down a lane.
But the infinite ammo is completely wasted. By pairing it with no stock, the player has no stability. They can't stay on target under fire past, super close range. It's like buying a rally car built for off-roading and then stripping out all the suspension just to get a slightly higher top speed on a perfect highway.
You've completely sacrificed the weapon's main purpose.
Exactly. You're giving up its core function for a tiny bit of mobility that you can't even use effectively.
So let's talk about the quickest fix here, the perk slot. We're seeing Messiah Thompson use the FMJ perk a lot for bullet penetration, which is situational.
Yeah, more than situational, it's a missed opportunity, a huge one. Given how bad the flinch is from no stock, that player should immediately swap FMJ for the toughness perk.
Right, to directly counter the problem.
It directly offsets that flinch. It lets you stay on target in a duel.
Yeah.
For any of these high mobility builds, it should be mandatory.
So the big picture here for competitive success is that it's not about maximal aggression. It's got to be about a more nuanced balance. You have to respect the actual stats.
Absolutely. The first, most actionable takeaway is to just get rid of the 3X tactical scope 2 on everything. ARs, MRs, LMGs. That immediately gives you back that huge ADS speed penalty. And second, prioritize mitigating flinch with toughness. Make those fast builds actually work when someone shoots back.
Right, and that's really the core insight for you to think about. If getting a huge niche advantage like the RPD's infinite ammo or maybe the one-shot potential of the M67 AMX, if that requires a certain amount of stability, is a high-mobility loadout ever truly worth the cost of not being able to withstand a single enemy shot? Something for you to chew on next time you're in the gunsmith? Welcome to the deep dive. We are jumping straight in today with a really specific look at competitive strategy. We're breaking down the doctrine of one player, Messiah Thompson, and what he calls the struggle playstyle.
Right. And the whole idea behind it is actually a pretty high level. He's trying to convert tactical adversity like incoming fire, getting pushed off a power position into aggressive momentum.
So he wants to be able to take a hit and then immediately counterpunch.
Exactly. The goal is sustained resilience under fire, not just avoiding damage. He wants to be able to fight back predictably.
Okay, that sounds like a kind of controlled recklessness, which I find fascinating. But the brief we looked at suggests his current setups, his loadouts, are actually working against that goal. How is he manufacturing his own liability here?
The contradiction is it's really in two critical statistical bottlenecks that we see over and over on his mid-range builds. He's paradoxically pairing the highest mobility attachment you can get, the no stock, with a massive handling penalty of a 3X tactical scope 2.
Okay, so he's chasing max speed, but what's the hidden cost? When you take the stock off a weapon for that mobility, what's the number one thing you lose?
Flinch resistance. And the sources call this the flinch vulnerability ripple effect.
Flinch vulnerability.
Yeah. Flinch or aim jumping when you take damage is the most direct adversity you can face in a gunfight. So by maximizing his flinch, he's guaranteeing that the very first enemy bullet displaces his sights. It basically predetermines failure.
So he's lost the duel before it's even really started. The source had a great quote on that, didn't it?
It did. It called the setup, and I'm quoting here, a death sentence on mid- and long-range gunfights.
Makes perfect sense. The speed is useless if you can't hit your target the second you get shot.
Now, you mentioned the 3X scope. That's the other big flaw, right?
Exactly. This is what we're calling the ADS speed inversion. That scope adds a huge non-negotiable penalty to his aim-down sight time. So he accepts all that instability from having no stock, only to have the scope just kill the speed gains he was after. How significant of a penalty are we talking about? Do we have the raw data on that?
We do. The data shows it's approximately an 8.01% loss to ADS time, just from the scope. So he's left with this platform that's, it's not fast, and it's not reliable. It's statistically inefficient.
All right, so let's pivot to the fix. To turn that adversity back into agency, we have 3 non-negotiable mandates for him. First, Universal ADS optimization. I mean, you have to drop that 3x scope. Get that 8% penalty back immediately.
Right, that's step one. And second, strategic mobility allocation. You have to be smarter about the no stock.
So only use it for close quarters combat, for CQC. Leave it off everything else.
Exactly. And the third mandate, and this is maybe the most important, universal flinch mitigation.
Okay, and to do that, we're replacing a situational perk like FMJ, Full Metal Jacket.
With the toughness perk.
Why is that trade-off so vital? I mean, isn't he losing utility by dropping something like FMJ?
It's a crucial trade. FMJ is situational damage. Toughness is direct consistency. If the entire doctrine is built on resilience during a duel, you simply cannot allow your sight to jump off target. Toughness fixes that core flaw. It transforms that fragility into genuine resilience.
Okay, so the weapon builds are addressed, but the utility has to support this aggressive style too. Talk to me about the EHP pre-buff.
Yeah, that refers to the TK5 operator skill. EHP is just an effective health pool. Using TK5 gives him an extra 50 HP. That's a 50% increase to his health, which lets him make these aggressive pushes and, convert that high risk into a statistical certainty.
And to keep that momentum going during a push, I assume Vulture is a must pick.
Absolutely. It's for that immediate micro-sustainment. You get 100% of your ammo back, plus a critical 20 HP boost right away, bypassing the normal regeneration delay.
And finally, counter control.
Vital, the Dauntless perk. It grants immunity to things that slow you down, like a cryo bomb or the disable perk. If Messiah's whole agency is built on unhindered movement and strafing, he can't let his opponents just switch that off.
It's really amazing when you break it down. His focus on just raw speed created a setup that was actually slow and fragile right when it mattered most.
Yeah.
So the whole strategic shift here is from raw speed to what we're calling stable aggression.
That's it. You're still accepting risk, but the arsenal is finally optimized so that accepted risk is no longer fatal.
A much more consistent way to play.
Right. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, this whole analysis shows that real expertise isn't just, raw mechanical skill. It's about understanding when a supposed advantage like maximum mobility actually becomes a statistical liability that costs you consistency.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener.
Yeah, ask yourself this. Where in your own field, in your own work, might you be sacrificing core consistency for what feels like a minimal speed gain? Think about that trade-off.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we break down expert analysis into, knowledge you can actually use. Today, we're digging into a pretty fascinating executive brief. It's an analysis of competitive gear for what they're calling the Messiah Thompson arsenal.
Messiah Thompson is basically the code name for the defending world champs' loadouts. And this brief is all about their core doctrine, the struggle playstyle.
The struggle playstyle? What exactly is that?
It's about converting adversity. So things like taking damage or getting pinned down and turning that directly into aggressive momentum, using it to win the duel. But to pull that off, you need to absolutely max out your effective health pool, your resilience.
Okay, got it. But here's the kicker, right? The very first finding in this brief is that this elite arsenal is, it's systematically sabotaging itself.
Exactly. It's creating its own liabilities, working completely against its own mission. The report flags this one pervasive and really flawed pairing across their assault rifles, marksman rifles, even LMGs.
And what's that pairing?
They call it the systemic failure. It's combining the super fast no-stock attachment with the high magnification 3x tactical scope 2.
But wait, everyone uses no stock. I mean, the whole point is that speed boost for movement and aim down sights right. Why does the data say that's basically competitive suicide?
Because on any kind of mid-range weapon, no stock just tanks your flinch resistance. And flinch is, it's the mechanic for taking damage. The brief is super explicit here. It says, using no stock on something like an RPD is a death sentence on mid and long-range gunfights.
Death sentence, wow.
The second you take that first bullet, your scope it violently jumps off target. You've already lost the fight.
Okay, so you're accepting this huge instability problem, but you're doing it for speed. Doesn't that trade-off, ever pay off?
That's the thing. It doesn't. Because of what the brief calls the ADS speed inversion, that 3x scope, it slaps a mandatory an 8.01% penalty to your ADS time. So you're spending attachment slots to chase these tiny speed gains, and then the scope just erases them. You're accepting the full crippling penalty of flinch, but you get almost no speed benefit in return. It's it's horribly inefficient.
So if that pairing is out, what's the mandate? Do we just forget mobility and build for pure stability? Or is there a way to find that balance for what the report calls stable aggression?
Right. So the report lays out 3 mandates. They're non-negotiable for competitive consistency.
Why?
Mandate 1 is all about that flinch. You have to ditch the situational FMJ perk.
The one for wall banging.
Yeah, that one. And you replace it universally with the toughness perk. It directly counters flinch. It lets you stay on target even when you're taking fire.
Okay, that makes sense. And mandate 2 must be about getting that speed back, but the right way.
Exactly. You eliminate the 3x tactical scope 2. Just get rid of it. You immediately get that 8.01% ADS penalty back.
Right.
Use a red dot, a low mag optic, or even just the OWC tactical laser. It's an instant improvement.
And the final rule, the third mandate.
Strategic mobility. No stock isn't useless. You have to reserve it. Strictly for close quarters combat. CQC SMGs. Your range weapons, they need stability stocks. Period. That's where you get your consistency.
So now let's talk about the utility that actually helps this doctrine, converting that risk into inevitability.
This is where it gets really interesting. The key is the TK5 operator skill. It gives your entire team an immediate temporary 50 HP buff.
50, that's huge. That's a 50% boost to your effective health pool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And you use it proactively before a big push. It turns what was a high-risk gamble into, and this is a quote, a statistical certainty of survival.
A massive buffer. What else supports that? Any other perks?
Yeah, 2 crucial ones. Vulture, which turns your kills into an instant 20 HP in ammo, so you bypass the normal health regen delay. And Dauntless. It just makes you immune to enemy slowdown effects like the disable perk or a cryo bomb.
Okay, so if we zoom out a bit, the whole idea is to transform the arsenal from inconsistent high-risk aggression
to statistically sound, high-performance competitive tools. You're mitigating flinch, you're optimizing speed, you're basically making sure you maintain control, your agency, even when the enemy is shooting at you.
So this all brings us to one final thought for you to chew on. If this struggle playstyle relies on utility like the TK5 to proactively grab a 50 HP buffer before you even start the fight, does that level of calculated resilience turn what looks like pure recklessness into something that is, statistically speaking, just inevitable?
All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing a deep forensic analysis of what's being called the struggle playstyle doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
This is that ultra-aggressive philosophy where you're trying to convert taking damaged tactical adversity directly into, well, aggressive momentum, into agency.
And, the philosophy itself is sound. You want that control, that resilience when you're under fire.
Right.
But the way these loadouts are built, it completely sabotages the whole idea. Our analysis found this fundamental systemic contradiction in the attachments used.
So the idea is right, but the execution is just wrong. What's the specific conflict here? What's the one thing that's actively wrecking this playstyle?
It's the pairing. It's this constant paradoxical pairing of the no-stock attachment with the 3x tactical scope 2.
On mid to long range builds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The player thinks they're getting max mobility and better visibility, but the cost is, well, you're just taking damage while being completely unstable.
And that no stock, when you look at the numbers, it's just predatory. You're taking the absolute maximum penalty to flinch resistance.
The huge hit to stability, too.
A huge hit. All for these tiny, minimal net gains in aim downside speed. You feel faster, but you're paying for it dearly.
It's what we've been calling the flinch vulnerability ripple effect.
Huh.
If you're in a mid-range duel, say 15 meters out, losing all that flinch resistance means the second you take one hit, your sight just jumps off target.
And the duel's over.
It's over. That sight displacement predetermines your failure. You never get the chance to convert that damage into anything.
Okay, I get why no stock is a problem, but that 3x scope, it offers such valuable visibility. Is there any scenario where that trade-off is worth it?
You'd think so, but this is where it gets really counterintuitive.
This is the ADS speed inversion, right?
That's it. That scope slaps on an 8.01% penalty to your ADS time. So any speed you thought you gained from no stock,
It's gone. It's a wash.
It's often completely negated. So you're accepting all that instability, that flinch, for basically nothing. It's a statistically inefficient platform.
So what's the fix? If you really want this aggressive style to work, what are the mandatory changes?
Okay, there are 3 non-negotiable revisions. First, universal flinch mitigation. You have to build against it. Second, universal ADS optimization, which means dropping that 3x scope entirely. And third, no stock is strictly for close quarters combat, CQC only.
Let's focus on that flinch mitigation, because the FMJ versus toughness trade-off feels like where this doctrine lives or dies.
It is.
5 of these builds use the FMJ perk for wall banging. Why is swapping that for the toughness perk a
quote, statistical imperative. I mean, who doesn't love a good wall bang?
Because a wallbang is optional utility. Toughness is foundational consistency. It directly fights that critical flinch flaw we talked about. It keeps you on target.
So you could actually win the duel that's right in front of you.
Exactly. You can't afford to gamble on a maybe wallbang when stability is the difference between winning and losing that gunfight.
And you can really see this on the marksman rifles, can't you? Like the SKS or the Type 63. One point of flinch just ruins that quick two-tap.
Guarantees a miss on that critical second shot. Or think about the RPD with the cooling compressor barrel.
Infinite ammo.
The ultimate expression of agency. Right. But you pair it with no stock, you take one hit, and your sights are pointing at the ceiling. It's like strapping a jet engine to a unicycle. All momentum, zero control.
So if we stabilize the weapons, how do the other parts of the build, the utility, help convert that struggle, that damage you're taking, into real momentum?
That's where the perks really start to shine. Take the Vulture perk in the blue slot. That thing is a perfect momentum engine.
Because it turns a kill directly into sustainment.
Immediate localized sustainment. You get 100% of your ammo back, and crucially, you get a 20 HP heal.
And that heal is instant, right?
Yeah.
Once every 2 seconds. It bypasses the normal health regen delay.
Which lets you reset and re-engage immediately. And then for proactive plays, you have the KK5 operator skill.
Right, the team-wide health buff.
You pop that before you push, and your whole team gets a temporary 50 HP buffer. It allows for these high-risk pushes with a kind of statistical certainty of survival that you just don't have otherwise.
So what this all means is that the revised arsenal guarantees that when you, the player, take damage, the struggle of your weapon keeps the consistency you need to secure the kill, to actually get the agency.
Exactly. You're shifting from high-risk, inconsistent aggression to statistically sound, high-performance tools. It's the difference between controlled recklessness and just recklessness.
So here's a final thought to mull over. Consider the PPS-41 CQC build, which successfully uses the disable perk to hit the opponent with a major movement debuff. If crippling an opponent's speed up close is better than trying for wallbangs, where else in the competitive meta might movement denial tactics secretly be more powerful than just raw damage? Think about that next time you're in the gunsmith.
Importsiz, asinsio, asingshe, ayorpe, maf, hashlip, time, socket, os, shutil, son, import, gumpi, aze impit, from CPF, import, big, from some pose, big import, teshi dana moto, shoto, shupo, shupo, to the death, import, diverted posting, dome, dome, come, dome, dome, come, come, dome, dome, come, dome, current, dome, dome, come, current, dome, in it, call it to be, the fractal, pure, pure, nasi, tene, pomit, in it, flow, what, in it, bore, If Moxins, Big Shah, Hextiges, 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 If Nuksha, Hextiges, 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 If Nuksha, Hextiges, 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 Alien, 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 Dama, better range, check, 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 Dama, better range, check, 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 Dama, better range, check, 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 Dama, alien, 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 alien,